The love and hip-hop world just got flipped upside down. Imagine this. Tamar Braxton stirs the pot with one shocking misunderstanding, and before the dust even settles, Yandy and Mendeecees are dragged straight into the fire. 30 minutes. Just 30 minutes of pure chaos, love, betrayal, and jaw-dropping revelations that fans can't stop replaying. 1 second, it's flowers, apologies, and vow renewals. The next, rumors of cheating, emotional affairs, missing rings, and public meltdowns that left everyone in disbelief. Viewers are asking, is this marriage built on love, or is it barely hanging together with public appearances and broken promises? Sources close to the couple whisper that behind every tear and every apology, there's a storm of resentment brewing. And Tamar's name being pulled into the mess? That was the spark that lit this wildfire. What really went down when Yandy and Mendeecees tried to fix things? How did an emotional therapy session turn into a public scandal? And is this the end of their story, or just another twisted chapter in the love and hip-hop saga? Buckle up, because what started as love quickly spiraled into pure chaos. It all started with a misunderstanding, one name, one moment, and suddenly Tamar Braxton was thrown right into the crossfire. Fans thought Tamar was shading Yandy, others swore she was backing Mendeecees, and social media did what it does best, explode into chaos. And in that whirlwind of confusion, the spotlight turned directly onto Yandy and Mendeecees, a couple already standing on shaky ground. Because, let's be real, when Tamar Braxton sneezes, the internet calls it a hurricane. So when her name got attached to their mess, it wasn't just gossip anymore, it was a full-on spectacle. For years, Yandy and Mendeecees sold us the dream, the power couple who could fight through anything. Prison time? They endured it. Business struggles? They smiled through it. Family drama? They held hands in public and said, "We're good." But behind the filters and staged photos, there were cracks big enough to swallow the whole foundation. And this time, Tamar's name wasn't the cause of their problems. It was the perfect excuse for all the tension to spill over. So picture this. After the Tamar mix-up, Mendeecees decides it's time to pull out the grand gesture. He wants to show the world, and maybe even convince himself, that his marriage is solid. Cue the private restaurant, the flowers, the dramatic apology. He even brings Yandy to tears with a vow renewal. Cameras flash, music swells, and for a split second, it looks like love wins. But does it really? Or was it just a carefully staged performance to drown out the noise? Because the minute the champagne glasses were set down, the reality hit. Yandy wasn't just forgiving a husband's words in Arizona. She was dealing with years of feeling overlooked, disrespected, and pushed aside while Mendeecees built his narrative of respect first, love second. And if you ask her, respect without love isn't a marriage. It's a business deal. And let's talk about that vow renewal. Yes, it was beautiful. Yes, the tears were real. Yes, the crowd cheered like they were watching a royal wedding. But look closer. Mendeecees didn't even wear his ring. In fact, when asked about it, he admitted straight up, "I'm not there yet." Excuse me? Not there yet? After vow renewals, after therapy, after kids, and 17 years together, you're still not there yet? That wasn't just honesty. That was a dagger dressed as truth, and Yandy felt every inch of it. Behind the romantic gestures, the therapy sessions painted the real picture. Yandy poured her heart out in a handwritten letter, admitting her insecurities, her doubts, her fear that she no longer mattered. She apologized for not trusting him more, for questioning his decisions. Vulnerable, raw, exposed. And what did Mendeecees give back? A confession that respect mattered more than love. A declaration that until he felt seen and valued, the ring would stay off. And just like that, the therapy session turned from healing into another wound. And then came the rumors. Because of course, there are always rumors. Bars, strippers, DMs, whispers of secret flings. Women stepping out of the shadows saying, "You don't remember me?" Yandy defending her husband with claws out, ready to fight anyone who even looked his way. And that's the thing. When Yandy gets loud, people say she's guilty by reaction. But tell me, What wife wouldn't snap if strangers tried to paint her husband as a cheater on national television? Still, the louder she shouted, the more people whispered, "A hit dog will holler." It became impossible to separate truth from lies. One moment, Mendeecees insisted he barely knew these women, just bartenders serving drinks. The next, leaked DMs hinted at conversations that went a little too far. He called them harmless. Yandy called them reckless. And the public? The public didn't care about truth. They cared about the show, the tears, the fights, the vow renewals crumbling under the weight of one wrong message. But here's where it gets even darker. Yandy herself admitted that at one point, she had an emotional connection with someone outside her marriage. And let's be honest, emotional cheating cuts deeper than physical. Physical is a mistake, an impulse. Emotional? That's replacement. That's choosing to share your heart with someone else. So when she admitted it, Mendeecees nearly broke. Suddenly, the man who wanted respect more than love realized he had neither. The irony? While they both pointed fingers, both had blurred lines. He was reckless in DMs. She admitted an emotional affair. And in between, their marriage became a battlefield fought not in private, but in front of cameras, fans, and gossip blogs that fed on every drop of blood in the water. And through it all, Yandy played the PR team for her family. Every scandal, every rumor, every messy headline, she stood up, defended, spun the narrative. But even she admitted she was tired. "Why am I always the one cleaning this up?" she asked, breaking down on camera. And she wasn't wrong. Because while Mendeecees refused to explain himself to strangers, Yandy had no choice but to shield their kids, their brand, their entire public image from collapse. So, what do we really see in this 30 minutes of love and chaos? Not a fairy tale, not a power couple. What we see is a woman exhausted from carrying both her marriage and its public reputation, and a man still unsure whether he values respect more than love. We see vows renewed one night, rings removed the next. We see therapy sessions filled with tears, but ending with more distance. And we see rumors swirling like vultures, daring either of them to fall. And the most chilling part? The cracks are starting to show in Yandy's armor. For years, she fought like a warrior for her marriage, defending Mendeecees against anyone and anything. But this time, for the first time, she admitted she didn't know if his love was still enough. And when the woman who has carried the marriage starts doubting, that's when the real danger begins. Because Tamar Braxton's misunderstanding wasn't just gossip, it was foreshadowing. A reminder that public perception can destroy private love. And for Yandy and Mendeecees, the line between private and public doesn't exist anymore. Every tear is on camera. Every fight is in headlines. Every apology feels staged. Every rumor feels too real. And if they can't close that curtain soon, the marriage they've been fighting to protect might collapse in front of the entire. So here we are. 30 minutes of laughter, tears, apologies, fights, therapy, and rumors. 30 minutes that show us not a couple in love, but a couple in crisis. And while the cameras catch the smiles, the music, the flowers, what they don't hide are the eyes. Tired, heavy, weary. And those eyes tell us more than any vow renewal ever could. Because if love is supposed to conquer all, then why does it look like Yandy and Mendeecees are barely holding on? So here's where the real mess begins. After the vow renewals, the therapy tears, and the grand speeches, you'd think Yandy and Mendeecees would finally get a break. But nope. This is love and hip-hop, not a Hallmark movie. And in this universe, the moment you patch one hole, 3 more leaks burst open. And this time, the leaks weren't metaphorical. They were DMs. Leaked messages started spreading faster than wildfire. Screenshots appeared online, women swearing Mendeecees was in their inbox, chatting reckless. Complicated, he supposedly said when asked if he was still married. Complicated? Sir, you just renewed vows on camera with tears in your eyes. Complicated isn't the word. The word is busted. And while Mendeecees swore up and down that the messages were twisted, misinterpreted, or straight up fake, the damage was already done. Yandy wasn't about to take this lying down. The same woman who had just poured her soul out in therapy now had to go full lioness. She stormed into public spaces, clapping back at women who so much as whispered his name. And yes, the claws came out. Because let's be real, when another woman stands in your face, claiming she knows your man from a bar, you're not going to sip tea and smile politely. You're going to snap. And Yandy snapped hard. Fans watching at home had mixed reactions. Some said Yandy was overcompensating, fighting too hard because deep down she knew the rumors were true. Others said she was simply protecting her marriage, tired of strangers trying to drag her name through the mud. Either way, the optics were messy. The louder she screamed, the more people whispered, "She's hiding something." Meanwhile, Mendeecees kept his poker face. Calm, quiet, insisting it was nothing but a drink order, nothing but misinterpretation. But here's the problem. When your wife is fighting tooth and nail in public while you sit back looking unbothered, it doesn't scream innocent. It screams comfortable. Comfortable letting her take the hits. Comfortable letting her play PR manager while you shrug. And the internet noticed. Then came the therapy bombshell. Yandy, in a moment of vulnerability, admitted she had once shared an emotional connection with another man. Not physical, not intimate, but emotional. And if you thought the cheating rumors were bad, this revelation set the house on fire. Because as Mendeecees himself said, emotional affairs cut deeper. And suddenly, the man who swore respect meant more than love realized he might not have either. The irony was painful. He was accused of being reckless in DMs. She confessed to opening her heart to someone else. Both had blurred the lines. Both had given each other reasons to doubt. And yet, both wanted to stand tall in public, smiling for cameras, pretending their marriage was untouchable. The contradiction was too loud to ignore. And that's when the friend drama started. Rashida and Kirk got pulled in, voices from outside stirring the pot, adding fuel to an already burning fire. "You don't even wear your ring," Yandy reminded him. "People ask me every day if we're still together." And she wasn't wrong. Because in a world where perception is reality, a missing ring isn't just jewelry. It's an announcement. Mendeecees' defense? It doesn't feel real yet. Let that sink in. 17 years, children, vow renewals, therapy sessions, tears, arguments, but it still doesn't feel real. And while fans screamed at their TVs, Yandy's silence in that moment spoke louder than any clapback. Because when the man you've defended for years looks you in the face and says your marriage doesn't feel real, that's not just hurt. That's devastation. Of course, the outsiders didn't make things easier. Women like Jasmine popped up, claiming connections, hinting at stories too vague to disprove, but too juicy to ignore. Yandy called it trash. Mendeecees rolled his eyes. But the damage was done. Because in reality TV, it's not about whether it's true. It's about whether it's believable. And after months of public cracks, the people believed it. The therapy continued, but instead of healing, it exposed deeper wounds. Yandy wanted public reassurance. She wanted her husband to stand up, speak out, defend their family name. But Mendeecees refused. "I don't owe explanations to strangers," he said. And on one level, he wasn't wrong. But on another, he missed the point entirely. Because Yandy wasn't asking for strangers. She was asking for herself. For their kids. For the brand they'd built together that now hung by a thread. Close your eyes and picture it. Yandy, drained, mascara streaked, begging for her husband to speak up. And Mendeecees, arms crossed, quiet, stubborn. The silence between them louder than any fight they'd ever had. That's not just reality TV drama. That's the sound of a marriage slowly suffocating. And then came the emotional whiplash. One moment, they're vowing to fight for each other. The next, they're threatening to walk away. One minute, they're reminiscing about butterflies and first loves. The next, they're accusing each other of betrayal and neglect. Fans were dizzy, unsure if they were watching a love story or a slow-motion train wreck. Through it all, one thing became clear. Yandy was exhausted. Exhausted from defending, exhausted from explaining, exhausted from fighting. And for the first time, her voice cracked not with anger, but with defeat. Maybe he doesn't love me the way I thought he did, she whispered. And that, more than any rumor, was the real scandal. Because when the fighter stops fighting, the battle is already lost. And let's not forget Tamar Braxton's role in this chaos. Her misunderstanding might have been small, but it was the domino that toppled everything. The reminder that public opinion can turn private cracks into earthquakes. That one wrong word can make the internet dissect every inch of your marriage until there's nothing left. So what did 30 minutes of love and chaos really show us? It showed us that vows are easy, but respect is hard. That rings can be taken off, but scars can't. That defending someone in public doesn't erase doubts in private. And most of all, it showed us that Yandy and Mendeecees aren't the perfect couple they want the world to see. They're just two people, bruised and battered by years of love, loss, and public spectacle, trying desperately not to drown in the same waters they chose to swim in. But here's the kicker. This isn't even the end. Because as messy as the cheating rumors were, as raw as the therapy confessions became, the next chapter would drag them even deeper. Public confrontations, friendships tested, outsiders stirring the pot. The vow renewal might have been the opening act, but the main event? That was still to come. And when it came, it didn't just shake their marriage. It shook the entire love and hip-hop universe. If you thought vow renewals, therapy confessions, and DM scandals were enough, think again. Because love and hip-hop never stops at one explosion. It's always a chain reaction. And after Tamar Braxton's misunderstanding and the avalanche of cheating rumors, the real spectacle began. The public confrontations. This wasn't just Yandy and Mendeecees fighting each other anymore. This was friends, enemies, bartenders, strippers, randoms with screenshots, all piling on to turn their marriage into a circus. It started outside a concert. Yandy and Mendeecees were leaving, trying to keep it low-key, when a woman suddenly steps up, like she's auditioning for the spotlight. "You don't remember me?" she pressed, looking him dead in the eye. Mendeecees blinked, calm as ever, swearing he had no clue who she was. But she wouldn't let it go. "You know me." The insistence wasn't just awkward, it was calculated. Cameras rolling, fans watching, and a woman trying to make herself unforgettable by force. And the crowd ate it up. Yandy, of course, wasn't having it. This is a woman who's fought through years of whispers, jailhouse letters, and public disrespect. She wasn't about to stand by while some barfly tried to brand her husband as hers. So she did what Yandy always does. Snapped. Voices rose, tempers flared, security circled, and suddenly what should have been a quiet exit turned into headline footage. And let's be clear, the louder Yandy defended, the more people whispered. "Why is she fighting so hard if it's not true?" they asked. But flip it. What wife wouldn't? What woman wouldn't swing if someone tried to lay claim to her marriage in front of flashing cameras? The tragedy of Yandy's situation is that no matter how she reacts, the narrative isn't in her favor. Too quiet? She's guilty. Too loud? She's guilty. In reality TV, you can't win when the producers want chaos. Mendeecees, for his part, kept his signature calm. No shouting, no swinging, just that same tired refrain. It was nothing. But the calm didn't feel reassuring. It felt dismissive. Almost too casual, like he was used to these rumors. And that casualness? It cut Yandy deeper than any scandal ever could. Then came the therapy follow-up. Remember how Yandy begged him to speak up publicly, to defend their family name? He still refused. "I don't owe strangers an explanation," he said again. And once again, he missed the point. Because Yandy wasn't asking for strangers. She was asking for him. To prove, if not to the world, then at least to her, that he was in this marriage for more than just appearances. But silence was his choice. Silence became his weapon. And silence is often louder than words. And if the silence wasn't enough, the missing ring screamed louder. Every time cameras caught his hand bare, fans had questions. Are they even together? Is it just for show? Bloggins feasted on it, spinning wild narratives that spread faster than Yandy could shut them down. "Blood in the water," one fan tweeted. "And the sharks are circling." Meanwhile, outsiders smelled opportunity. Friends like Rashida tried to counsel, but even their advice became gossip fodder. Enemies? They had a field day. Jasmine and her circle kept the pot boiling, dropping hints, feeding rumors, staying just vague enough to avoid accountability, but loud enough to keep their names buzzing. And Mendeecees? He called it noise. Yandy called it war. The difference between them was the difference between survival and surrender. And then, in a twist no one saw coming, Yandy dropped her own bombshell. In a moment of brutal honesty, she admitted that once upon a time, she had formed an emotional attachment to someone outside her marriage. Not physical, not intimate, but emotional. And if you've ever been in love, you know, sometimes emotional cuts deeper than physical. Because it's not just about bodies. It's about the heart. And in that instant, the balance of guilt shifted. Fans were floored. How could the woman who fought so hard for this marriage, who defended her husband against the world, admit she too had crossed a line? Suddenly, Mendeecees wasn't just the villain. The spotlight of betrayal widened, casting shadows on both sides. But instead of healing, this honesty only deepened the divide. That's worse than cheating, Mendeecees declared. That's betrayal. And for once, his calm broke, the mask slipped, and the pain showed. The man who preached respect over love now realized he'd lost both. And Yandy, teary-eyed, realized the very thing she thought would save them, truth, was now ripping them apart. From there, it was chaos on steroids. Every fight became evidence. Every tear became proof. Every silence became confession. Bloggers replayed old clips, pulling out signs that had apparently been there all along. Twitter threads dissected body language. TikTok edits went viral, and suddenly everyone was an expert on their marriage. And that, more than any DM or rumor, was the death blow. Their private pain had become public entertainment. Yandy's frustration reached its peak. "Why am I always the PR team for my family?" she snapped. And she wasn't lying. While Mendeecees sat silent, she took every hit, did every interview, answered every question, spun every story. She carried not just her marriage, but the brand, the image, the children's stability, all on her shoulders. And exhaustion doesn't make good TV. Exhaustion makes collapse. The cruel irony? Through it all, they both insisted they didn't want to let go. "Commitment keeps us more than love," Mendeecees admitted in one raw moment. And that's the scariest line of all. Commitment without love isn't romance. It's a contract.
A chain.
A cage. And Yandy, for the first time, started to wonder if she'd been chained too long. So, where did this 30-minute roller coaster leave us? With a vow renewal that looked like forever, but felt like pretense. With therapy that revealed more wounds than it healed. With rumors louder than vows, and rings missing more often than promises kept. With a wife tired of fighting, and a husband convinced silence is strength. And the cliffhanger? Oh, it's brutal. Because just when you think they're ready to fight for each other, whispers of new receipts start dropping. DMs, voice notes, and a friend claiming she is proof that could blow the whole marriage apart. Yandy hears the whispers. Mendeecees shrugs. And the fans? They're foaming at the mouth, waiting for the next shoe to drop. Because in love and hip-hop, it's never about what's said. It's about what's about to be revealed. And for Yandy and Mendeecees, the curtain hasn't fallen yet. It's just shaking, ready to rip wide open. And that's where we'll leave it for now. Yandy and Mendeecees gave us 30 minutes that felt like a lifetime, from tears and vow renewals to leaked DMs, emotional confessions, and public confrontations that no one can unsee. What should have been a fairy tale love story has turned into a cautionary tale about what happens when private pain gets served up as public entertainment. The real question isn't whether the rumors are true, or if the receipts even exist. The real question is whether this marriage is being held together by love or by the fear of letting go in front of the cameras. Because one thing is clear, every apology feels rehearsed, every denial feels shaky, and every silence feels louder than a confession. Fans can't stop asking, is Yandy the fighter who refuses to let go, or the exhausted wife finally reaching her breaking point? And Mendeecees, is he the calm, misunderstood husband standing his ground, or a man hiding behind silence while the storm rages around him. The truth is messy, the emotions are raw, and the story is far from over. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Whose side are you on?
Do you believe this marriage can survive? Or is it just one scandal away from collapse? If you made it this far, you're officially part of the drama. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter in this explosive saga. Because if you think this was wild, just wait until the next round of secrets spill out.